Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Tamunatira Vanachari Tamunatira Vanachari Kayalada Madhava Kunjabihari Dayalala Madhava Kunjabihari Gopedana Bala Bhagirivala Dari Gopedana Bala Bhagirivala Dari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Namunatira Vanachari Namunatira Vanachari Dayalala Madhava Kunjabihari Dayalala Madhava Kunjabihari Dayalala Madhava Kunjabihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astacharsata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astacharsata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnavin Ki Nama Acharya Sohaira Thakur Ki Name Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Veda Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kundu Radha Kundu Guru Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Navarit Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Gaura Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. The chair, I don't like to have my back so much toward the deity. So we're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, which Srila Prabhupada kindly translated and commented upon. And we're on chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text number 156. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this verse is quoted from another place, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore it's in Sanskrit instead of Bengali, and the meter is different. Hopefully it's the Brahma Samhita meter. Gopyas tapa kemacharan yadamushya rupang lavanya sarma samordvamananya siddham drigbi pibantyanu sava binavam durapam. Let's try that one again. Drigbi pibant yanu sava binavam durapam. Ekantadama yashasas shriya aishparasya. Gopyastapa kemacharan yad amushya rupang. Lavanya sarama samordvam ananya siddham. Drigbi pibantyanu sava binavam durapam. Ekantadama yashasas sashya aishparasya. Gopyastapa kemacharan yadamusha rupam. Lavanya sarama samordvamananya siddham. Drigbi pibantyanu sava binavam durapam. Ekantadama yashasa Sri Aishvarasya. Please chant. Gopyastapa kemacharanya damusha rupam. Avanya sarama samordvamananya siddham. Gopyastapa kemacharanya damusha rupam. Avanya sarama samordvamananya siddham. Big Vivanta Sada The A with the bar is twice as long as the short A, and if you remember that, does anybody else want to? Kopyaskapaka Charanya Musha Rupam Lavanya Sarma Samordam Ananya Siddham You want to chant? So we'll go through the synonyms. Gopyaha, the gopis. Tapaha, austerities. Kim, what? Acharan, performed. Yat, from which? Amushya, of such a one. Lord Krishna. Rupam, the form. Lavanyasaram, the essence of loveliness. Asama urdvam, not paralleled or surpassed. Ananya siddham, not perfected by any other ornament. Self-perfect. Durgabi, by the eyes. Pibanti, they drink. Anusava abhinavam, constantly new. Durapam, difficult to obtain. Ekantadama, the only abode. Yashasa, of fame. Shriyaha, of beauty. Aishvarasya, of opulence. Translation. So this is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The women of Mathura said, "What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes they always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That form is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare." Please repeat. The women of Mathura said, "What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes they always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That form is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh and extremely rare. Report by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:44-14 was spoken by the women of Mathura when they saw Krishna and Balaram in the arena with King Kamsa's great wrestlers Mustika and Chanura. So, this is not a very elaborate purport. But the basic idea is that Krishna is incredibly beautiful, and the beauty of Krishna is something that comes up periodically in our reading, and there's other references to the beauty of Krishna, some of which I wanted to talk about. Actually, it's described in the Nectar of Devotion. There's 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna that Rupa Goswami lists in chapters 21 and 22. And the beauty of Krishna comes up twice, actually, because of these 64 qualities, the last 4 are unique to Krishna himself. The other avatars of Vishnu don't have them. The other avatars of Vishnu have the first 60, but the last 4 only Krishna has. So beauty is listed among the first 60 qualities, and Krishna's special beauty that excels everyone else is one of the last 4 qualities that only Krishna has. So I can read the descriptions here from the Nectar of Devotion. And actually, beauty is the first of the 64 qualities that's mentioned. Beautiful bodily features. Any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Ordinary persons who cannot understand how exalted are the beautiful features of the Lord are simply given a chance to understand by material comparison. It is said that Krishna's face is as beautiful as the moon, his thighs are powerful like the trunks of elephants, his arms are like 2 pillars, his palms are expanded like lotus flowers, his chest is like a doorway, his hips are dens, and the middle of his body is a terrace. So then the last quality, number 64, is Krishna's exquisite beauty. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 12 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava tells Vidura, "My dear sir, Krishna's form was most wonderful when he appeared on this planet and exhibited the potency of his internal energy. His wonderfully attractive form was present during his pastimes on this planet, and by his internal potency exhibited his opulences, which are striking to everyone. His personal beauty was so great that there was no necessity for wearing ornaments on his body. In fact, instead of the ornaments beautifying Krishna, Krishna's beauty enhanced the ornaments." So that's certainly unique. You never hear about anybody so beautiful. They didn't need ornaments, and if ornaments were placed on them, the ornaments looked better because they're on that person's body. Regarding the attractiveness of Krishna's bodily beauty and the sound vibration of his flute, in the 10th canto, 29th chapter, verse 40 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis address Krishna as follows: "Although our attitude toward you resembles loving affairs with a paramour, we cannot but wonder at how no woman can maintain her chastity upon hearing the vibration from your flute. And not only women, but even strong-hearted men are subject to falling down from their positions at the sound of your flute. In fact, we have seen that in Vrindavan, even the cows, the deer, the birds, trees, and everyone has been enchanted by the sweet vibration of your flute and the fascinating beauty of your person. So usually many people may be attracted by a beautiful person, but you don't usually see somebody who's so beautiful that the cows, the deers, and the birds and the trees are attracted by this person, right? That's certainly uncommon. In Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava, it is said, one day Krishna happened to see the shadow of his beautiful form reflected on the jeweled foreground. Upon seeing this bodily reflection, he expressed his feelings. How wonderful it is that I've never seen such a beautiful form. Although it is my own form, still like Radharani, I'm trying to embrace this form and enjoy celestial bliss. This statement shows how Krishna and his shadow reflection are one and the same. There's no difference between Krishna and his shadow reflection, nor between Krishna and his picture. That is the transcendental position of Krishna. The above statements describe some of the wonderful reservoirs of pleasure within Krishna, as well as the transcendental qualities of his person. The transcendental qualities of Krishna are compared to the ocean. No one can estimate the length and breadth of the ocean, but as one can understand the ocean's contents simply by testing one drop, so these statements will give us some understanding of Krishna's transcendental position and qualities. So the people who are so fortunate as to have darshan of Krishna's form are completely blown away by his beauty, and they share their statements with us in the Shastras to give us the opportunity to become attracted by Krishna someday. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Ye tam mam prapadyante, ham sitaiva bhajamiham, mama vartante manusya partasarvasya." As they surrender unto me, I will reward people accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So these people who are appreciating the beauty of Krishna, such as the gopis and the inhabitants of Mathura, are able to appreciate because of their great advancement in devotional service. Another description of the beauty of Krishna is that the beauty of Krishna is so great that the gopis were saying that the creator Brahma was a fool because he had created eyes that blink, because during the time that their eyes were blinked shut, they couldn't see the beauty of Krishna. So we don't see there's many beautiful movie stars and stuff, but nobody ever says, their beauty is so great that they can't tolerate the blinking of their eyes, right? No movie star is that great. But Krishna's beauty is truly amazing. And the people who are sufficiently advanced in devotional service, they can appreciate this beauty. So our task is to elevate ourselves in devotional service to the extent that we also appreciate that beauty. And appreciation of the beauty of Krishna can protect us from distraction by the beauty of Maya. There's actually a purport where Prabhupada makes that point. In the teachings of Lord Kapila, he's warning about attraction to the feminine beauty. He says, "Just try to understand the strength of my Maya in the shape of a woman who by her mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip." Prabhupada says, there are many instances in the history of the world of a great conquerors being captivated by the charms of a Cleopatra. One has to study the captivating potency of woman and man's attraction for that potency. From what source was this generated? According to the Vedanta Sutra, we can understand that everything is generated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is enunciated there, Janmadyasya Yata. That means that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the Supreme Person, Brahman, the Absolute Truth, is the source from which everything emanates. The captivating power of woman and man's susceptibilities to such attraction must also exist in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the spiritual world, and must be represented in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The Lord is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Male. As a common male wants to be attracted by a female, that propensity similarly exists in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also wants to be attracted by the beautiful features of a woman. Now the question is, if he wants to be captivated by such womanly attraction, would he be attracted by any material woman? It is not possible. Even persons who are in material existence can give up womanly attraction if they are attracted by the Supreme Brahman. Such was the case with Haridas Thakur. A beautiful prostitute tried to attract him in the dead of night, but because he was engaged in devotional service and transcendental love of God, Haridas Thakur was not captivated. Rather, he turned the prostitute into a great devotee by his transcendental association. This material attraction, therefore, can certainly not attract the Supreme Lord. When he wants to be attracted by a woman, he has to create such a woman from his own energy. That woman is Radharani. It's explained by the Goswamis that Radharani is the manifestation of the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord wants to derive transcendental pleasure, he has to create a woman from his own internal potency. Thus, the tendency to be attracted by womanly beauty is natural because it exists in the spiritual world. The material world is reflected pervertedly, and therefore there are so many inebrities. Instead of being attracted by material beauty, if one is accustomed to be attracted by the beauty of Radharani and Krishna, then the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Param Dristva Nivartate, holds true. When one is attracted by the transcendental beauty of Radha and Krishna, he is no longer attracted by material feminine beauty. That is the special significance of Radha Krishna worship. That is stated by Munacharya. Since I become attracted by the beauty of Radha and Krishna, when there is attraction for a woman or a memory of sex life with a woman, I at once spit on it, my face turns in disgust. When we are attracted by Madana Mohan and the beauty of Krishna and his consorts, then the shackles of conditioned life, namely the beauty of the material woman, cannot attract us. So we're very fortunate to be worshipping the divine couple, Krishna and Radharani. Prabhupada wanted us to go to Mangalarati every day, and we get to meditate on their beauty for half an hour straight. And the more we become purified by our devotional service, the more we'll appreciate the completely satisfying nature of the beauty of Radha and Krishna. There's a statement, Ta Shri Krishna Namadi Bhavagrama Endriya Sevan Mukhe Jivado Svaim Eva Sparatida. That Krishna's name, fame, form, quality, and pastimes, they cannot be grasped with our material senses. But when we engage in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue, our senses become purified, and then Krishna becomes perceivable to us. So when Prabhupada comments on that, he says that the tongue has two functions, to vibrate and to taste. So we practice vibrating the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we practice tasting Krishna Prasadam. And by doing this, our senses become purified, and we become able to perceive the beauty of Krishna, the transcendental nature, the name of Krishna, the beauty of the form of Krishna, the beauty of the pastimes of Krishna. Described when Srila Prabhupada was a little boy, he would go to the Radha Govinda temple they had in where he lived, and he would look at the deity for hours, appreciating the beautiful slanty eyes of the deity. So when one's in pure consciousness, one can look at the deity for hours and derive ever increasing pleasure. So we can practice seeing the deity. Actually, there's one place in the, I think it's the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada talks about by seeing the deity morning and evening, that form of the Lord becomes fixed in our mind, so we can think of the deity. Actually, when we offer the arati from the altar, we also offer the arati to Jagannath, but it's very difficult to see Jagannath because he's at another angle, So you actually have to visualize Jagannath in your mind when you're offering. But because we see him all the time, it's easy to visualize Jagannath in your mind. There's there's a prayer. You can also pray that your attraction to the beauty of Krishna increases. There's one prayer in the Nectar of Devotion that comes out of the Padma Purana. My Lord, I know that young girls have natural affection for young boys and young boys have natural affection for young girls. I'm praying at your lotus feet that my mind may become attracted to you in the same spontaneous way. So if you offer that prayer every day, for decades, then you'll notice that your attraction for the deity increases, attraction for the beauty of Krishna. There's one story, I can't remember if I told it here or not, but one devotee in New Orleans told me this story that there was one pujari who was putting the deities to rest, and he noticed that the Mangal Arati sweets for the next day weren't made. And he was like an incredibly surrendered person because it takes like 3 or 4 hours to make those Mangal Arati sweets. So I thought, I'll have to make the Mangal Arati sweets, otherwise the Lord won't have any for Mangal Arati, So he spent 3 or 4 hours staying up making all these sweets. And the next day when he saw the deities, they looked more beautiful than he'd ever seen in his whole life. And he'd been seeing these deities for months or years every single day. But this day, the next time he saw them, they looked incredibly beautiful. And he could understand that the deity was reciprocating his surrendered service. So those are some thoughts on Krishna's beauty. Does anybody have any? Actually, I found one more verse when I was... This is actually quoted from the Krishna-karnamrita in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. So does anybody have any favorite verses on Krishna's beauty they want to share with us? Or relevant questions or comments? Otherwise, I guess my inclination is to go on to the next verse.
Hare Krishna.
Yes?
I have a question. It's amazing how beautiful Radha Govinda is. I was wondering, even though some of us may see the deity every day, but we're still attracted to material beauty. I was wondering, why is that, and how we can counteract this?
Well, actually, it's no surprise that we're attracted to the material energy, because we've been cultivating sense gratification not just for 20 years of this one life, but for many, many, who knows, hundreds, thousands of lives. So it's sort of like a really bad habit. It's not just a bad habit for 20 years, it's a bad habit for like hundreds of lifetimes. So we shouldn't be surprised that we have lingering attachment. Actually, there's Prabhupada mentions in a purport about that, actually. In the purport to 1-2-17 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'll skip down to that section of the purport. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord Himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. So this is a purport to the verse Shrinvatam Spakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Aridyanta Stoyu Padrani Vidinoti Sirsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So we may look at our heart and see like all this dirt, an incredible amount of dirt, and we can think, how can I ever possibly get rid of this dirt? But here it's saying that Krishna will get rid of the dirt for you. And Krishna is very good at getting rid of dirt. There's a Leela called the Gundicha Marjana, where Lord Chaitanya and his associates are cleaning the Gundicha temple. And the devotees put all the dirt they collected in one pile, and Lord Chaitanya puts the dirt he collected in another pile, and his pile is like really big because Krishna is very expert at cleansing. He's very the Arjuna actually glorifies him. Pavitam Paramam Bhavan, you are the supreme pure. So Krishna is cleansing everything. Even Krishna's name is cleansing us from all sinful reactions. And so then the question would be, if he cleanses the material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who's developed the urge to hear his messages, then how do we develop the urge to hear his messages? So that's answered actually in the previous verse. Shushisho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Katavrichi Shanmahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So, by serving the devotees who are completely absorbed in devotional service, we develop an affinity for hearing the message of the Lord. And when we have an affinity for hearing the message of the Lord, then Krishna personally cleanses the desire from our hearts. And another way of developing the urge to hear is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction. Let's see here. Nectar of Instruction, I think it's 7. Krishna Nama Charitadisi Tapta Vidya Pitopa Tapta Rasanaya Narochikanu Kintvadarad Anudinam Kalu Saiva Dushta Sadikramad Bhavati Tad Gadamula Hantri. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet, like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So the idea is that even if we have no taste initially to hear the names of Krishna, or the glories of Krishna, or to meditate on the form of Krishna, if we do it every day, that taste will come. Actually, there's 9 different items of devotional service, and one of them is archana, or deity worship. So deity worship is not one of my favorite items, and I never volunteer to do deity worship actually. But in many temples they don't have enough pujaris, so you get volunteered anyway. And it was like that in San Diego. I got volunteered to do deity service. So, I like to do Tulsi Arati from the beginning somehow or other. And during the evening Bhagavad Gita class, I would polish both men's and women's Tulsi tray. And I noticed that the evening pujara was late, like 10 or 15 minutes, like practically every time. And Prabhupada has very high standards for deity worship, punctuality and cleanliness. So I actually felt bad that they're doing that. He wasn't taking the service very seriously, and Prabhupada's standards weren't being maintained, so I volunteered to address the deities in the evening, which I don't normally do. So, at any rate, then I came back to visit my guru, and there was some seminars at Gita Nagari, so I took a 3-week break and flew from San Diego back to the East Coast, and so I wasn't doing my deity worship for like 3 weeks. And then when I got back, I found I was eager to go on the altar and address the deities. And I thought, this is amazing. I actually have no inclination to do this deity worship, but somehow or other, because I'd been doing it, regularly every week, 1 or 2 times, I developed a taste for doing it. So actually all the 9 items of devotional service, we can acquire taste for any of them simply by doing it. Because we're eternal servants of Krishna, we have a taste for serving Krishna. That's part of our spiritual identity. So if we practice doing any of those 9 items, whether we like it or not, we'll acquire taste for it because we're acting in our spiritual constitution. So we can acquire a taste for anything, and japa actually isn't my favorite devotional service. Kirtan is my favorite devotional service, but we have to chant this japa every day. But I noticed that if you really take it seriously and you try to chant nicely, the minimum result is you'll feel inspired to chant the next day. You won't grumble. Oh no, I got to chant this. You'll. Oh, this is an opportunity. I can connect to Krishna. Another chance to try to completely absorb myself in Krishna. So, if you just try to do the devotional service nicely, then you'll acquire sufficient taste to continue. Because, basically, Krishna reciprocates with our devotion. So as long as we're manifesting some devotion in doing our service, then we'll be inspired to do it. But when people stop putting devotion into their service, Krishna will stop reciprocating, and they'll lose a taste from that, and then they'll look for taste in material things. Yes. But if we always try to do our devotional service nicely, we'll get some kind of taste from it. Yes?
Hare Krishna. I have a kind of contradicting question almost. I think for the very advanced devotee, obviously the idea is to subdue, material desire and, be able to transfer that onto, Krishna, obviously. I notice, I know this is probably a heated topic, but there's several verses or times where it's brought up even the idea of like, spitting, or, that women are, we should avoid them, or things like that. I can't state exact, scripture or lectures, quotations at this point, but, you hear how sometimes that's taken very literally, unfortunately. Obviously, I could say a lot more, but I'm wondering what you could say more on that, maybe.
Well, there was sort of a nice quote on that. I don't know if I can find it in a... There's a Leela about that. Oh yeah, there it is. So there's this. This is from the Prabhupada Remembrance by. Scroll back to see where it's by. Oh, it's Lakshmi Oni. Okay. So let's see. Let me scroll down to where I was now. So let's see. So one Mataji, one of my god sisters said, oh, let's see, before that. So Prabhupada was talking about dress. He said, our devotees, they should always dress simply. So one Mataji, one of my god sisters said, this is Lakshmi Muni remembering this, but Prabhupada, what happens if your husband gives you very nice silk saris? Aren't you supposed to wear them? Prabhupada's response was, you should wear them when your husband is around. Otherwise, who are you trying to impress? Krishna's not impressed by silk saris. So she made a face, and Prabhupada saw that. He kind of said that with his eyes, what's the problem? Then Prabhupada said, men should treat all women as mother. And again, she kind of scowled. So Pushta Krishna Prabhu, then Maharaj was there. He said, Prabhupada, I think the statement, whenever I see of sex life, I spit on it, I think they think it means whenever I think of women, I spit on it. He said that they call them mother, but they don't treat like mother. Prabhupada thought for a second and said, first let them become free of sex desire, then let them spit. Well, that was Prabhupada's comment. I can't improve that if you want me to elaborate. But
Yeah, I definitely appreciate, comments like that. I had heard, tell a story, like of one Prabhupada female disciple. She said this story, she was walking past down the street or something at the temple where she lived, and, I forget if she mentioned they were men or brahmacharis or whoever, but they're walking past her, and they or start spitting, and and they're crazy, degrading her. And then she sees a tree and she goes over to it and she hugs the tree and she says, "This is what you're doing. You're hugging Maya," basically. But obviously, we as women, we take this personally, and it's hard not to when things like this happen. So I'm wondering, in a practical sense, maybe if there's ways to guide those who maybe are not free of sex desire to still work in cooperation with women, because obviously we can never, it would be very difficult to be completely free of sex desire, I think, in this material world. It's just, we try to be completely renounced would be probably very difficult, but definitely to try to control the senses is the idea. But is there a practical way for those to maybe have a balance, I guess is my question.
Well, let's see. Dealing with the opposite sex is a challenge because the sex desire comes up. So it's generally, it's not good for like men and women who are unmarried to be scheduled, like they're dressing the deities or cooking together, because by contemplating the objects of the senses, one acquires attachment for them. There is that so that's something that should be taken into account. But basically, we deal with if somebody is spitting at women, that's serious, that's Vaishnava aparad, really. It's like, everyone is working under some authority, so the people who are doing that, you tell their authority, these people are actually doing this, maybe you should, correct them or something. But there's one of the recommendations is you shouldn't be alone in a room with a person from the opposite sex, and I think that's something that's one should try to follow that, and even swamis have got so much difficulty because they didn't follow that simple rule. Sometimes you can't because of circumstances. But if you're in circumstances like that, then you can pray to Krishna to protect you, and Krishna has the ability and the inclination to protect you. But generally, we deal with devotees respectfully, and but it's not it's not good to have like revealing your mind to people of the opposite sex or not married to. These sorts of things will develop into unnecessary attachment. Remember one time there was I lived in Alachua as a brahmachari, which is a challenge actually. One time I was asking all the swamis who came through, how can I be brahmachari in Alachua? And Bhakti Purushottam Swami said, we should be asking you how you can be brahmachari in Alachua. So my mind became attracted to one disciple, Radhanath Swami. So I revealed my mind to him and asked him what I should do about it. And he said, well, because you're in the same community, naturally you'll sometimes be in the same place where she is, but don't interact with her any more than absolutely necessary. And I was so attached to that person, I couldn't even actually follow that perfectly, but I followed it imperfectly. And it didn't turn into, it didn't get worse, it got better. So you shouldn't, you should try to avoid unnecessary interaction with people from the opposite sex. And deal with them respectfully, because we're supposed to have respect for everyone. And also, I think it's good to give people their space, Women shouldn't be unnecessarily too close to the brahmacharis, and brahmacharis shouldn't be too close to the women. There's one woman who I feel gets too close to me on the Harinam sometimes, and I haven't got to the point of telling her or the authorities that maybe should just make the effort, just I'm distributing there, she could distribute there instead of here, you know. So, but I think that's about all I can say about that. Just anybody have any? If you have any additional things to say about anything that's come up?
Whether you're a man or a woman, we're in this. We're all trying to become devotees, pure devotees, and that's under the big, broad umbrella canopy of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, Srila Prabhupada's movement to spread Krishna consciousness, give love of Godhead, give everyone the opportunity to get free from repeated birth, death, disease, old age, transmigration through 8,400,000 species of life. So if we always strive to develop, increase that awareness of how great and how important and how, as Srila Prabhupada heard from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in the first meeting, 1922, so urgent that nothing else, even if it's a very important thing, compares it to that urgency to make the Sankirtan movement the most exclusive thing, even Indian independence from the British at the time. So, to the degree of one's commitment, absorption, and experience, you can't expect someone who's new to the movement, 1, 2, 3 years in their, 22, 24, 25 years old, to have the same depth of realization as someone in their 50s, 60s, 70s. So we have to be patient with those who are in more beginning or lesser stages of developing experience. So there are rules and regulations of how we should interact. Such an amazing example is there in the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada on the occasion of the disappearance day or appearance day of his spiritual master would describe so many the incredible things of the personality of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Like, he took inadvertently or mistakenly a mango from the Boga room, which wasn't duly offered to the deity. He was only 4 years old, and when he was lightly corrected by his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he took a vow at the age of 4 years old never again to eat mango. Even we would bring him mango when he's, the elderly spiritual master. He said, "No, I cannot take, I am an offender." These are the symptoms of an acharya. So the other example given that his godbrother, O.B.L. Kapoor, who was somewhat younger than Srila Prabhupada, with his wife, and Srila Prabhupada was present, taking darshan from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Prabhupada saying, this young lady, by age calculation, could be considered to be the granddaughter. There's such a difference in age. And she said, "My dear master, my dear spirit, Guru Maharaj, I would like to speak with you." And she'll go, "Yes, you can speak, whatever you like, you can say." "No, but I want to speak with you in a," Prabhupada said, "secret place." "No, I cannot do that." So certainly such a personality would not, fall down or be attracted or in any way be moved like even a fraction of a millimeter from his determination. But to set the standard he did like that. So we're in a different situation here in the West than we are in, say, India. Even India is becoming westernized, or say like where there's more strict, ancient understanding of things like holy places. So to make things more easy and ecumenical, what should you say, if like newcomers come, we don't give a class that, women talking about, what was described in our literatures 5,000 years ago. They'll have a big problem with it. But at the same time, there are standard rules for progressive human civilization towards self-realization. And in the name of being cautious, sensitive to the people that we're preaching to in this time, place, and circumstance, that within our own understanding, we don't lose sight of those basic rules and regulations, which can be applied in all times, places, and circumstances: Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. So it's kind of like you be strict with yourself, but be liberal with others. But ultimately, the whole thing is harmonized and made, sanguine by your own advancement in Krishna consciousness. How's that?
Thank you for your contribution. Anybody else want to say anything before we... Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm reminded of a verse which attracted Shukdev Goswami. Before he was a devotee, he was more of a liberated personality. There were two verses by which he was attracted. One was Ahobakiyam Sanakalakutam, that is how Krishna is... Okay. So, there are two verses by which Srila Shukdev Goswami was attracted to Krishna. And one of the verses was the description of Krishna coming with his cowherd boys returning to Vrindavan, and the gopis describing that verse. So, yeah, correct. Baraha Pidam Natvara Bapu. So, that is another verse where the description of beauty of Krishna is mentioned.
You're welcome to quote the whole verse so we have the benefit of hearing it.
You can read it.
Baraha Pidam Natvara Bapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibhradrasah Kanak Kapisham Vaijanti Chamalam Randhranveno Radhar Sudaya Apuryan Gopa Vrinder Vrindaranyam Kanaka Kapisham Pravishad Gita Kirtihi. I might have got words wrong, but...
Do you have a translation of it? Because we don't all know the Sanskrit.
Translation. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue Karnikara flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavana. Beautifying it with the marks of his footprints, he filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories.
Thank you for that. It's the beginning of a series of verses. For example, 1021:7, It says, dressed in a charming variety of garments upon which their garlands rest and decorating themselves with peacock feathers, lotuses, lilies and newly grown mango sprouts and clusters of flower buds, Krishna and Balaram shine forth magnificently among the assembly of cowherd boys. They look just like the best of dancers appearing on a dramatic stage, and sometimes they sing. It's in the section called the, it's Venu Gita, right? The song of the flute. Yeah. So you can, it's the beginning of that chapter. So thank you so much, everybody, for your contributions. We can end here because it's getting on. It's time for the next part of our program, which is Prasada. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.